He's a columnist for USA Today. He's also MLB Network insider. Bob Nightengale on the show today. Bob, how you doing?
Yeah, doing great, thanks.
So, to me, this is crazy. So, Alex Rodriguez, his final week with the Yankees, the lackluster week. So, I want to start with that. How will Alex Rodriguez be remembered in terms of his time with the Yankees?
No real roadmap. It's really checkered. Was part of a World Series championship team, did some great things, and obviously always be remembered for having the longest steroid suspension in baseball history and being an outcast. So, he kind of changed his image 180 degrees there at the end. But then his body gave out and could no longer perform, like he did a year ago.
How bizarre is this that the Marlins president of baseball operations, Michael Hill, would even consider bringing in Alex Rodriguez? I mean, Bob, where would he play?
Probably platoon at first base. It's they need some power. Lost Stanton, that's 25 home runs. Justin Bour's been out since July, and that's 15 home runs. He needs some kind of power. Not that anyone will provide that. At least he's a threat. And we'll see if he wants to do it. That's the big question. It's one thing for ownership to call him and say, "You want to join us?" It's another thing for him to say, "You know what? Let me go do this," instead of kind of riding out on top.
Bob, it sounds like to me that the Marlins, to call up Alex Rodriguez, is more of a let's put butts in the seats than an actual helping a team, because he really hasn't had that great of a season. And to my recollection, I don't think he's ever played first base, right?
I want to say he's only played there a couple times in his life, and that's it. And, I think he should be able to do that. I mean, Don Mattingly says there's no reason why. And the guy was playing, shortstop at one point, third base up until a couple of years ago. So I think he could, be out there and not embarrass himself. Just a question is that does he want to do it?
Now, the reason why we're talking about this is Giancarlo Stanton went down with an injury. This is the third time that he's had a season end now. And I want to ask you, the Marlins invested a 13-year massive hundreds of $millions into Stanton, and now it's the third time he's going down with a season-ending injury. Was that investment wise in hindsight?
Well, at least the contract's all back-loaded. So right now it's fine. If this starts continuing, there are 2-3 years down the road, there's a different story. Right now it's okay because the whole contract is he makes the big money, about 4 years from now. But yeah, I mean, obviously you didn't sign up to have a guy play 120 games every year. And this is, third year in a row where season's cut short and, it looks like it's probably going to end their playoff chances.
We're talking about Bob Nightengale. He's an MLB Network insider, also a columnist for USA Today here on the Sports Bash. I'm Josh Hennig hanging out with you. So, looking at the Marlins, they're a half game out of the wild card. They're behind the Cardinals right now. To me, without Stanton, does this team really stand a chance, considering you have the Cardinals and Dodgers ahead of them?
I mean, you wouldn't think so, but they survived when Stanton was really struggling there in the first half. They were without D. Gordon for 80 games. So they can survive that. They can probably survive this. So I do think they have a legitimate chance. I mean, the Dodgers or Giants can get one of those spots. Who will lose to the NL West. And the other ones, went open between, like the Cardinals, Mets, Pirates, and Marlins.
Speaking of the Mets, that's a team that's in a very, very weird situation. It seems like their manager, Terry Collins, has been very frustrated with them. They just are not playing anywhere close to as well as they did last year. Is there something specifically going on with the Mets that's causing all this havoc aside from just the injuries?
Just a little bit of World Series hangover. Maybe guys aren't as hungry. Last year they brought in Cespedes to really liven that thing up. This year they brought in Jay Bruce. He hasn't been the same. Hasn't had the same impact, obviously, as Cespedes did a year ago. So it's just nothing seems to really be clicking. At times the pitching's been fine. At times the offense has. It's a very erratic team, and I just don't see that changing.
Do you think after this season is a possibility that Terry Collins could be let go?
I don't know. I don't think you can blame Collins for what's going on now. Just let the mediocrity. If it continues next year, yeah, he only has a 2-year contract, but maybe he's in a hot seat to begin of next year. But as of right now, I would say no.
Speaking of wild card races, I want to flip the script over to the American League for a moment. You have 2 American League East teams in the top 2 slots right now in the Orioles and the Red Sox. Is it almost a foregone conclusion that 2 American League East teams are going to make the wild card? Or do the Tigers, who are a half game back, and the Mariners have a 2-game back situation, are they serious contenders for that second wild card slot?
I think the Tigers are more of a serious contender than the Mariners. I just can't see the Mariners hanging in there. It's very possible we have all 3 AL East teams fighting it out, where the second, third place teams have that 1-game playoff. Just like we had last year with the NL Central with the Pirates, Cubs, and Cardinals. So the Tigers are a streaky team. I think the 3 best teams, and the 3 of the best teams are right in the AL East. I think the Texas Rangers are better than everybody over the American League.
Who is your favorite of the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Orioles to actually win the American League East? As standing as of August 15th, obviously things can change, but with basically a month and a half left, who is your favorite of those 3 teams to actually win the American League East?
They have such a brutal schedule. I'll stick with the Red Sox. That's my pick me in the year. I'll stick with them. Although, Baltimore surprising everybody with that offense. It's hard to imagine they can sustain it just with the pitching the way it is. And, Toronto's sitting pretty. So I think we go down the last week or so with all those 3 teams, within a few games of one another.
Bob, I want to transition over to in our backyard. The Phillies, they're pretty much out of a playoff chase here, but there was one guy on their roster who's actually hitting pretty well since the All-Star game. That's Ryan Howard. Since the All-Star game, he's batting .378 with 5 home runs and 13 RBIs and 46 plate appearances. Is he a candidate for getting through waivers and being possibly traded to an American League team?
Well, he'll certainly get through waivers, and no one's going to touch that contract. But, he's been out there for the taking now for a couple of years, and nobody's touched him. He may be more of a candidate in September, where a team can just add him to the 40-man roster. Maybe a team like St. Louis even, because he just rakes at Busch Stadium, is his hometown, something like that. Just a threat off the bench. But I could see some team picking him up in September, just that they have a place on their 40-man roster to put him. So I'm sure the Phillies, are just asking for a very, very marginal prospect in return.
Howard has said in a couple different interviews, Bob, that he's interested in playing next year. He's pretty much on the downside of his career. Is there any possibility that he could play for a team next year?
I mean, it's hard to imagine. You'd have to go to a team as a non-roster player in spring training and just hope to make the team out of the spring. Like you said, probably would have to be an American League team if he wanted any playing time. But, no one's believed him so far. Everybody's had a chance to trade for the guy. So it'd be a long shot for sure. Just, it's unfortunate. It just hasn't been the same since he ruptured that Achilles that last day of the playoffs of 2011.
We've been speaking with Bob Nightengale. He's a columnist for the USA Today, also MLB Network Insider. You can follow him on Twitter @BNightingale. Bob, appreciate the time this afternoon.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you.